Did you grow up in a family where you learned to sacrifice what you need, so much so for everybody else? These are two major factors that are very common today and often lead to a place of unhappiness and the lack of leadership in a household that's necessary. The attention, the love, the caring cannot exist when we don't love ourselves. And so today, I'm going to give you 4 tips on how to make sure in your next relationship and going forward in divorce that you can learn to love yourself. So it's often that we are raised in families that don't really facilitate the need for us to, as men especially, feel what we need to feel and talk about what we are feeling. Most of us as men don't even recognize what we are feeling, maybe frustration or anger, and certainly not always grief. And these are common things that you experience in divorce. Now, that's no fault of anybody really, because you got to be taught these things, and these things are passed down from generation to generation. So if you're watching this video and you're going through divorce, it's the perfect moment in time. To me, this is exactly what divorce is all about. It's the opportunity to look back on the past and to look forward in the future, to make a plan, to learn from our mistakes, and to move forward in a manner that we've always wanted to be. See, I don't believe that anyone in divorce intended not to love in a manner that was necessary, or intended to not show love in the way that was needed. It just, unfortunately, these aren't things we are learned. Did anyone have a class on feelings or love in any part of their education? I certainly didn't have one. And if you had one, please let me know, because that sounds extremely interesting. And because of the lack of education on this, we learn through our families. We learn through our friends, and these things are passed down from generation to generation. But this is the great part of a divorce. You have the opportunity to change that. You have the opportunity to change the course and direction of your family and its lineage from this day forward. If you have kids, divorce can be fantastic because you can have moments away to really think about how to best engage with them, to see what they need, to see what's going to make them successful. Just think about all the opportunity that you have here. Often in divorce, we don't think about the positives, we often focus on the negatives because there are so many negatives to it. But for every negative, there's also a positive. And that's what we're here to talk about today, is the positive side, the opportunity to learn from our experience. And more specifically, when we come from these families and these places that we don't know what we're feeling or how we're feeling, we can often not know how to say what we're feeling. And when we don't say what we're feeling, we don't create the opportunity for anyone around us to give us the space that we need, the love that we need, or communicate and comfort in what we need. Now, as a man, you may say, I don't need comfort. I don't need communication. I do it just damn well fine. Well, if that was the case, my friend, you probably wouldn't have found yourself in divorce. And here's the thing. Another thing we don't realize is that men communicate completely different than women. This is also a big factor that leads to divorce. If you're saying that you're a good communicator and you still got divorced, and tell me in the comments below why you got divorced. There's some part of this that you can learn from, my friend, I guarantee you. So maybe you're an excellent communicator. You know how to say how you feel, and you're in touch with your feelings. And that's fantastic. I'm happy to hear. Spread that around, share that with friends. I would have loved to meet some people that had that talent, that could have shared it with me. So here's some special tips that may be helpful for you on your journey. And we're going to start off by setting boundaries. Now, what is a boundary? A boundary is our ability to communicate to our people in our lives what we need in that moment. Often in relationships, people will ask a question and we'll feel compelled or responsible to respond immediately in that moment. And that's not the case. You can give it time. You don't have to respond right away. And you can say it in a kind manner. Hey, I'd really like to reflect on that. Let me get back to you. There's a boundary right there. Or I'd like to process that. I'd like to talk more about this as well after I have time to do so. And here's the kicker. That can make somebody that's anxious really uncomfortable. So if you set a boundary like that, always give it time to go back to. Like, I'd love to talk about this more tomorrow after I have an opportunity to process it. Or is it possible I can have an hour or two to think about this and we could talk about it more afterwards? These are all simple boundaries that show a level of care and attention while also not infringing on somebody else's ability to navigate a space that's uncomfortable for them. When you give it time and space that you're going to return back to a conversation, you're telling the person that I care about this and we'll talk about it this time. Now here's the important part here. You have to go back and talk about it at that time. And if you can't, you got to communicate why. It better be a really good reason why. Because essentially when you do this, you're building trust. When you build trust in this way and you don't show up, you're actually damaging it more than you could even build it. Probably in a repeated fashion, you're damaging it so much that there won't be trust. So if you're shooting for another relationship or you're shooting to have a good relationship with someone in your life, then you got to build that trust going forward. So that's what a boundary sounds like and is. I'm going to give you 4 other tools for healthy boundaries that will help you through divorce. Number 1, set one small boundary this week, and that is to take an hour for yourself. Take an hour for yourself and just reflect. Reflect on nothing. Reflect on what you've been reflecting on. Reflect on anything you've been ruminating on, which is something that's been repeating in your mind over and over. So, number 1, take a step forward and set a small boundary of taking 1 hour this week just for you. Number 2, connect with other like-minded men. Now this is easy nowadays with things like Facebook, YouTube, and other various social media that's out there. You have the opportunity to connect with like-minded men in your community too. Maybe it's someone in your family that's gone through divorce. Maybe it's a group of men that gather in your area. Either way, find and seek out these men and spend time with you. Spend time with them. This is an opportunity for you to hear common struggles that often in divorce as men, we don't get to hear and talk about because men don't talk about their problems, right? But if you get around a common group of men that have gone through divorce and are in a supportive fashion, are intending to support, then you're going to get a lot of support. And make sure that this is positive support too. Not the armchair expert at the bar, all women are bad and evil, because that's farther from the truth than you could ever imagine. All right, number 3, practice saying, I need to think about that. Don't agree to request right away. It's okay, like we talked about earlier, to not respond when someone asks you a question right away. And respond in the sense of, it's not okay not to respond. But it's okay not to give your thought process at that moment, because maybe you need to think deeply, like, how does this affect the ex-wife? How does this affect the kids? How does this affect my financial situation? How does this affect my work, right? These are all important questions to consider when we think about divorce. And lastly, number 4, build routines that honor both your giving nature and your well-being. And so that sounds pretty complex, but it's really simple and straightforward. Do things for yourself, like go to the gym. Get outside, move your bodies. When we're going through the stressful situation of divorce, it's imperative that we exercise our bodies. They need to get moving. It will help you out of the stressful situation that you find yourself in. It will clarify your mind and give you the ability to show up in a more meaningful and thoughtful manner. So those are the 4 tips on how to set boundaries with yourself and with others, and how to navigate, one of the ways to navigate a challenging spot that is divorce. I hope that's helpful. Look forward to hearing back from you guys. We'll talk to you soon.